Welcome, welcome very, very much to Conversations. A pleasure to welcome to the program a person with whom I've done programming in the past and a man of considerable import in terms of the operation of the planet, particularly with efforts to the country of Pakistan. And his name is Major General Retired Anis R. Bajwa, and he is listed here as advisor to Imran Khan, who in turn is the chairman of the Pakistan Tehreek-e Insaf.
That's right.
Which means the party of justice, as I understand.
Yeah, the movement for justice.
The man who is emerging in almost mercurial proportions in terms of very likely to become the emerging leader of the country of Pakistan, if I'm not mistaken. You're advisor to him, and you also were chief of staff to Mr. Musharraf when last we spoke. You had been that and had a military background. So welcome to the program. It's been quite a few years since we did the program with you. It's good to see you again, and welcome to New York. There has been a monumental change. I think if you could perhaps introduce this person to perhaps some of the people in the audience who is emerging in such dramatic fashion in Pakistan as a political leader. Imran, maybe you could share his emergence or his personality as a sports figure in the field of cricket and other things, but introduce the man to the audience who may not be aware of it, and then we can talk some about the significance of his emerging political significance off a long, distinguished sports notoriety and fame.
Sure, Harold. But first of all, let me thank you for having me again on the program, and it's my pleasure to be here again. And starting with introducing Mr. Imran Khan, who's the chairman of a political party called Pakistan Tehreek-e Insaf, which translates Pakistan Movement for Justice.
Right.
And in a society and a nation like Pakistan, I think what really is required is somebody who champions social and economic justice for people, and that is what Mr. Imran Khan champions. He is a renowned cricketer of the yesteryears. He won the World Cup for Pakistan. He was the captain of the team at that time. And he is, I would say, a global celebrity in the game. But not just that. After cricket, when he got into doing social good for people, he began by building a charity hospital in the name of his mother, and that's a cancer hospital
in Lahore,
where 70% of the patients are given free treatment, free cancer treatment.
Wow.
And the standard is as good as in any international
world
cancer hospital. Yes. Not just that, then he also built a university in a very remote area where he comes from, near the town of Mianwali. But he built
Is that up north?
No, that's in Punjab, but in the west of Punjab. And close to the province of Khyber Pakhtunkhwa, but it is still in Punjab. So Mr. Khan, having done social work, he came into politics almost 16 years ago now, when he formed this party. And like I said, what he champions is social and economic justice for people, equality for all, equality before law, and establishment of rule of law in Pakistan. And he also champions national sovereignty. So I would call him a nationalist in that
There's a lot of issues on that front.
Exactly,
for sure.
exactly. Yeah, there are a lot of issues. And I was watching your earlier program where you were talking of the world not being a fair place and a just place, and of course, the world is not a just place, and
we'll talk about that. And one would hope that it could be moved.
It has never been, but we'll talk about that in a while.
Could we see him? We have a phenomenon called Occupy Wall Street, where there were people compressed, and they're looking for a qualitative change for justice for the people and everything. Would he be seen, and I know there's a group, Prout, in India, where there's a great number of people who followed Sakar and everything. Could what he's doing be in league or in sync with what's going on in the world in the name of Occupy, if you understand what I'm saying? The Occupy Wall Street or Occupy the World, that we need a qualitative move toward justice that is systems and not just one particular issue, but a systems challenge to the whole world in a sense, or not?
Yeah, I mean, what you're referring to is actually agitational politics,
yes.
Of sorts. Okay,
yeah.
And like I said, of course, no system is can be called absolutely fair. You can attempt to make systems fair, but no system is absolutely fair. But in the third world countries at large, and in Pakistan particularly, the system that the political and social system that has been in place is highly exploitative of the common man. It serves only the rich, the feudal lords, the political elite, and the bureaucratic elite, which includes generals like me also, of course. So what I'm saying is that Mr. Imran Khan is attempting to, when he comes to power, of course, he can't do it before that, he wants to change the system, okay? He wants to change the status quo. And that is why, for 16 years, I mean, it was difficult for him to come forward and to become the leading politician, because anybody who wants to tamper with the status quo has a very difficult job ahead of him.
Always.
Always. And he is anti-status quo. And status quo not just meaning that the political system, but the whole socio-political structure of the country.
I think that's the charge, as it were, of this movement that's called Occupy. Because they will say it's the banks and so forth. It's not just the bank. It's not just New York. It's not just. It's the whole world. There's something roiling the whole world that many of the people who've been so ill-served by entrenched interests that serve only those who are already wealthy or powerful, by and large throughout all of history, is in a certain sense a need for there to be systemic challenge to the system by which the planet operates, is what I'm getting at. Sounds to me like he's in that way of thinking relative to the country of Pakistan, but it would be nested within a larger movement of the whole world that is looking for something new other than politics as usual. If you understand what I'm saying.
Yeah, I know, and I know the Occupy Wall Street movement also. But what I want to say is that I would be a little hesitant in classifying him exactly in that category. There's a reason for that. The reason is that he is against destroying things by force of occupation. Okay. He wants to. What he wants is that he wants to use the existing system to get to a position where, through lawful means and through legally and politically acceptable methods, he would be able to start ushering in a change and a new system. Okay. So he would not take to use of force or, you know,
well, if I may, I don't think the Occupy movement is bent on forcefully overcoming the military power or the power structure or something like that. It's at the level of ideas and the level of challenging in an existential way the reification of the inherited institutions out of the historical context. That's what I'm saying would be in agreement with, he's got that attitude toward Pakistan. There's always been a class of people in Pakistan who are doing very well. They had one party where they called Mr. 10% or something and that kind of thing. There's been a great deal of corruption in terms of the politics of that country, just as there has been probably of virtually every country in the world, is what I'm getting at. In a sense, maybe it's worse in Pakistan or what the distinction is, but it's part of something that's stirring the world in a new way other than the historical history of political dissent and qualitative change, one party to another and so forth, out of history. That's what I'm saying.
Yeah,
it's a challenging and perhaps encouraging time to be alive and participant and concerned with the human condition.
Indeed, of course, it is, and I think the Arab Spring also bears testimony to that. Yeah. But I mean, it's embarrassing when you say you just spoke of Mr. 10%. It's embarrassing that Mr. 10%, the same person, is now the president of Pakistan.
Yeah,
so you can imagine our sorry state of affairs.
That was the People's Party. Right?
Exactly, the People's Party, which is now in power in Pakistan and has been for almost exactly for 4.5 years now, and elections are due early next year.
And that's the election for national offices.
Yes, that's the election, not for national office, that's the election for the parliament.
Okay,
because we have a parliamentary system.
Right.
So once we have a parliamentary election, then there's a new prime minister and a new government. But the president does not change until September, because the president is also for a 5-year term, and he was elected in September. 4 years ago. But the president is not elected directly by the people. In Pakistan, president is elected by an electoral college, which comprises all the parliaments of the federation and the provinces. Okay. So because we have 4 provinces which all have their elected parliaments of their own.
Sindh and Punjab.
Yeah, Sindh, Punjab, Balochistan, and Khyber Pakhtunkhwa.
Huh? How do you say that?
Khyber Pakhtunkhwa. We call it KPK.
KPK.
That was the old frontier province. With
the old frontier.
The one that neighbors Afghanistan.
You know, I share something. I just had my family history done, and my name is Channer, and I had it done and everything. And in my background, there was a man. He was in the British Raj military, Sandhurst, and that. And he had won the Victoria Cross.
Oh, is that right?
Young man. Yeah, that's a huge. I think that's more rarefied than even the Congressional Medal of Honor here. But for Britain, for action as a young man in Malaya or something. But then he became a general officer, and then he became the commander of the garrison or whatever it was at Kandahar.
Oh,
he was a relative of mine, and they got a estate out in Westward Ho in Devon now. And then they became, the whole family were military, and then they became, I think Alan was also Sandhurst, but they became imbued with the philosophy of a man named Frank Buckman, or the Oxford Group, and they became pacifists. And now they're part of that, but that was they were from part of that, the Raj then. There was that was such a, they were part of that. They made a film about a man named Raj Mohan Gandhi. Raj Mohan Gandhi ran for the presidency of India. He was the grandson of Mr. Gandhi, Mahatma Gandhi, and everything. A beautiful film. It's called Encounters for Truth. They were filmmakers there.
Yes.
I don't know why I went into that, except that I've never been to Pakistan, but I'm very intrigued with that part of the area. It's a linchpin. It's a very strategic part of the world, and we ought to all well understand its history and its significance now.
Yeah, but first of all,
I'm sorry, I went off on a little tangent. My mind just went into
No, but this is very interesting because when you tell me, I know that you are a pacifist, that I'm aware of. But I am myself intrigued to hear that you come from a lineage of martial people.
It's not direct. It's a little bit off.
Relationship.
Yeah.
But blood relationship.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay.
The Chicago Channers, and that they had done it, and it was linked in with that.
Yeah. Okay.
But anyway, I was terrible. I was terrible
what
military.
I wanted to,
I was drafted as an enlisted man. I didn't like it at all.
Yeah, but what I wanted to tell you was that, in my opinion, I can be wrong, and we don't need to really go into that philosophical discussion.
Yeah, all right. Yeah.
That if one is in the military, it does not mean that one cannot be a pacifist. By the way, because it is military.
Right?
Because it's military, which is actually keeping peace all over the world these days.
Would you count yourself
and the United Nations?
Would you count yourself a pacifist or not?
Sort of, yeah. I mean, I do not believe, okay, let me tell you something. I do not believe that conflicts can be resolved through use of military force. Okay, I don't believe that. So if you call that pacifism, well then I would be a pacifist. But I'm not totally a pacifist.
Unique for a military man who's a major general? I mean, you would have had to.
No, it's not unique. Let me say this.
Good, I'm learning. Yeah.
No, there'll be a lot of people who are in the profession of arms and believe that the profession of arms or the use of military force is only meant for achieving certain objectives which will actually support a political process.
Yeah, right.
Okay?
Yeah, yeah.
Every conflict because war fighting is about conflict.
Yeah, that's right.
Isn't
that's
it?
Right.
But every conflict, in my opinion, no conflict can be resolved ultimately by just fighting with military force. A conflict has to be resolved politically, and the military force can only create conditions which are conducive to the political process, if necessary.
Yeah.
Because every time you don't have to use military force. Only when necessary. Yeah.
He said it's an extension of diplomacy.
Of policy.
Right.
Exactly. Okay, anyhow, but you were asking me about Pakistan being a linchpin in the...
Well, it's very strategically placed, and it's Alexander, what they called it, Bactria? Alexandria invaded, I think.
That's right.
And it was the linchpin of George Kennan's thinking.
Yeah. Bactria was exactly the place which you were finding hard to pronounce, Khyber Pakhtunkhwa.
Oh,
that is
right.
the area which is Bactria.
Northwest Frontier Province.
Yes. That was Bactria.
I see, yeah. But he invaded there, and that's been thought of, and that was that's part of what they call the heartland in terms of Mahone thinking of British sea power, and the containment theory of who controls the northwest.
Who controls the world island? Who controls the heartland? Controls the world island, and who controls the world island? Controls the world.
I was a mere buck private, but you're a general. I understand. And I defer, but it was who controls the North European plain, which had access into the heartland. The heartland was that part which was invulnerable to sea power in the center, controls the world island, which is all of Eurasia and Africa, and who controls the Eurasia controls the heartland, controls the world. That was the thinking of geostrategic thinking between sea power and land-based internal logistics and so forth. And that was George Kennan, and that was the thing that guided United States foreign policy after the Second World War and so forth, by and large.
Yeah, that's
and
right.
It happened to be communist in the case of the Soviet Union. But that's been a very central part of the world in terms of military thinking and strategic thinking.
Exactly, in the past and even now.
Yeah.
I mean, where Pakistan is placed at the junction of South Asia with the Middle East and Central Asia.
Absolutely.
So that is the, I would say, geographical importance of Pakistan's location, and therefore gives it a geostrategic importance of being there. In addition to that, because of what has been happening in Afghanistan over the past, I would say, 40 years.
40 years.
Yes, over 40 years. Yes, exactly.
Yeah.
The Soviets invaded in 1979.
Right.
But even before that, you know, there was upheaval was going on in Afghanistan, and the king had been made to abdicate and leave the country, and there was Soviet-supported, you know, governments there, one after the other, and then, of course, the Soviet invasion itself. But what I'm saying is that the upheaval in that area actually has destabilized that whole region. And unfortunately, and now I'm talking of Mr. Khan's policy, whom I support, and I agree with him.
Are you talking Afghanistan?
Yes.
Yeah, okay.
I'm talking Afghanistan.
And then you have the Northern Alliance, and you have the Pashtun in the south, and that kind of thing.
Yes, but when I say destabilize the region, it is not just Afghanistan.
Oh, right, okay,
it includes Pakistan, it includes Central Asia, it includes Iran, it includes that whole region.
It's very crucial.
It's that region.
Absolutely.
And Pakistan's importance is actually with regard to bringing about stability in the region. And like I said, Pakistan is a bridge between Central Asia and East and South Asia.
Yes, absolutely.
Okay? If that is understood in correct geostrategic perspective, then we also have to understand that you cannot hope to bring about a lasting solution to the problems of instability in Afghanistan by merely addressing the issues in Afghanistan. You have to address issues in the whole region, which includes the Kashmir issue, which is Pakistan and India issue.
I know.
But if you see it only as Pakistan-India issue and not as an issue which destabilizes the region and which has influence and impact on what goes on in Afghanistan, then of course you are not going to solve either of those problems.
That's right.
Because India and Pakistan have to come to terms with each other and begin to live as peaceful, good neighbors, which they cannot do unless the Kashmir issue is resolved.
Thank you very much. It's very good you bring that up, because I don't think Americans realize just how deeply that influences not only the military of Pakistan, the Kashmir issue, but the population of Pakistan is deeply moved by this issue of Kashmir that has not yet been even submitted to any plebiscite or followed up with any UN resolution. A great injustice being perpetrated there. We don't understand how important that is to the people of Pakistan, and particularly also the military leaders
and interestingly to Afghanistan, to the situation in
Afghanistan.
Right.
Okay.
So that's what I'm trying to link both. Okay.
Yeah. Good.
I mean, the whole problem has to be understood in the larger perspective of the regional dynamics of that area. And that is why it is important for the United States and Pakistan to have good working relations, and not the kind of relations that are blowing hot and blowing cold intermittently. Okay, but unfortunately, that is how it always happens.
And Mr. Khan sees that in an interesting way, and he would like to be able to assert the sovereignty of Pakistan.
Yes, he would like to. He would like to assert the sovereignty of Pakistan, which means that he would be against strikes by drones.
Go ahead, take your time. It's all right. Just get rid of it. That's all right. It's just a cell phone. It's a common thing in the modern world that you hear that sound all the time.
I have to make it
right.
Sorry.
No problem.
No, I'll just cut it.
At least you know how to make it work. I have a heck of a time making some of this technology work. But you're a general officer, so you have to
Thank you very much. Thank you very much. But I take that as a compliment.
Of course it is. Of course it is.
Okay.
That's very good. And it's also very, very interesting.
So I was talking about what Mr. Imran Khan means by assertion of Pakistan's sovereignty. Because if Pakistan is a sovereign state, then no other state has the right to violate Pakistan's airspace. Period. Okay.
These drones are like some dystopic
and particularly when you call that state your friend, and ally, and you call that state your ally, and then you have to work out a system in which you do not violate the sovereignty of that state by your own decisions, and without taking, without consulting that state also.
So a lot of those people.
So what I'm suggesting is Mr. Imran Khan is a nationalist in that manner. But some people, and you may have read this speak of Mr. Imran Khan, that Mr. Imran Khan is against the United States, which is rubbish.
Okay.
Mr. Imran Khan is against the American policies in that region.
Okay. He's not against the Americans. No,
he's
what's
not against the American. Then
he's
not against him. I mean, only recently, the U.S. Ambassador Cameron Munter met with Mr. Imran Khan in Islamabad. And having met him, unfortunately, the ambassador stated that Imran Khan said that he would like to pursue friendly relations with the United States. Now, Imran Khan would like to pursue good relations with the United States and friendly relations with the United States, but that does not mean that Mr. Imran Khan would accept whatever the United States wants to do.
Right. No, I understand exactly. He would like to establish a friendly relationship with everybody.
But he would not want the United States to continue to pursue its policy in that region, which it has been pursuing for the last 11 years now.
10 or 11 years.
For the last almost 11 years now, and which has not produced any result for anybody.
And it violates the sovereignty.
It violates the sovereignty of not just Pakistan but also of Afghanistan.
Yes.
And after 9/11, perhaps there was a feeling in the United States that Afghanistan was involved in the committal of that crime of 9/11, and therefore, therefore, they sent forces there, and to push the Taliban out of there. But where are we today? The Taliban are still there.
They're still there, yeah.
Okay, and the country is in a much worse condition than it was in 2011.
So
in 2001.
Do you think the United States is going to hold with their 2014 promise?
I think
that's going to happen.
Yeah,
right?
That's going to happen
that's
because
going to have a major
effect. That's definitely going to happen. But the United States is still going to leave some forces there.
Right. And the policy has not been particularly rewarding. It seems.
No, it has not been rewarding for anybody.
Right.
It has not been rewarding for Afghanistan. It has not been rewarding for the United States, and it has not been rewarding for that whole region from where I come. So I really fail to understand as to what is the advantage.
Back up. We'll get back to this, but we'll back up your background, because your background is unique in itself. You were share your own background, because you have many responsibilities leading up to the one you have now in a particular advisory capacity with Mr. Khan. And that's a major thing, because he's very likely to be emerging in the political future of that region. But share your own little background, because your own personal background.
Sure. I'm happy to do that.
You've had a number of very important hats that you've worn.
Yes, I'm very happy to do that, to share with you about who I am. Well, of course, I'm from the Pakistan Army, a Major General, and retired as a Major General. In addition to, in Pakistan, I was, apart from other things, at one time, the Vice Chief of General Staff of the Pakistan Army.
Wow. That's very high.
Yeah, and then when General Pervez Musharraf took over the powers of the political, October 99, he appointed me as his first Chief of Staff, so I was the Chief of Staff to the Chief Executive of the country.
Wow.
In addition to that, I have done various stints with the United Nations also. I'll come both in military terms as well as in political terms. I was, for example, I was the Chief of Staff in Somalia. Wow. When the Black Hawk went down.
You were there?
I was there,
You were in the country, my Lord.
Yeah, I was there. I was the Chief of Staff of the United Nations mission at that time. I was in Georgia as the Chief Military Observer for over 2 years.
Another hot spot,
Yes, of course.
You seem to have been in very conflict, very challenging places.
But in both places I was in military uniform. But then I was in East Timor as the Deputy Special Representative of the Secretary General of the United Nations as a civilian.
That was an important development.
Yes, it was.
Yeah, very important.
But that was as a civilian. And of course, I've been a director and also Inspector General for Peacekeeping in the United Nations headquarters in New York for quite a few years. So I've done things. I've done various things. I've done various things in my life. I've done some stint in the corporate sector also. So I've done various things in my life.
And you've done a lot of. You're going to be congratulated on a very active in improving the human condition, life, and everything like that. And I congratulate you on all that. Now you count yourself at this time an advisor to Mr. Khan. Can we see him? The polls seem to be. He's up 70% approval or something like that, and he's come up. And as you said, when he first got started, he could hardly get anything going, but he's grown and grown and grown. And is your assessment that come the election time or that he could become the voice of a new Pakistan in the time more or less immediately ahead?
Yes, we are hoping. We are truly hoping for that. Like I said, recently there have been annually, there are various agencies which carry out surveys and polls, etc.
Yes, right.
So recently there have been two. One in February this year, February to March, and the other one from March to April. The first one was by International Republican Institute (IRI) from the United States, and the second was by Pew, which is again an American.
Big.
Okay, so. The first one by IRI was about the percentage-wise popularity of parties. And in that, Pakistan Tehreek-e Insaf is at the top.
At the top.
Yes,
I mean,
it's
it
at
was
the top.
just a little while. When we did the program before, I don't
yes.
think it was even on
no,
the radar.
It wasn't. It wasn't.
That was only just a few years
ago. That was just, 2 years ago.
Was it that recent? Yeah?
Yeah, it was just 2 years ago.
So it's really a phenomenon.
That's right.
Okay.
That's right. And Mr. Imran Khan calls it a tsunami,
a tsunami
of
yeah,
people.
Okay.
That's what he calls it.
But what's with the People's Party and then the Muslim League?
I'm going to give you that. But so talking of the parties, IRI did this survey, which was about the parties, and it placed Mr. Imran Khan's party at the top with 31%.
31%,
okay.
Yeah.
And the second party was Mr. Nawaz Sharif's party at 27%. And the third party was the People's Party, if I'm not wrong, at 16%. Okay?
That's popularity?
No, party's popularity.
People
associating with that party and party's popularity, who they will vote for, and all that, that kind of thing.
Benazir Bhutto.
Yeah, Benazir Bhutto is People's Party, which is now her husband's party.
Yeah, right.
But that is one. The Pew survey was about the personal popularity of various people. And Mr. Imran Khan is got 70%. 70%.
Yes.
70% of people said that they liked Mr. Imran Khan. Okay?
As a political person?
Yes, as a political person. No,
yeah.
As a political person. Okay, so that placed him on top.
What would Nawaz Sharif have?
Oh, Nawaz Sharif was okay because in when we're talking of the parties, 31%, 27%, 60%. That is, taking the percentage to. For one party at one time.
Yes, exactly.
But when it is about people, the one done by Pew, then one person can say, "Oh, I like Harold, but I also like Anis in second place."
I understand. Yeah.
So there, the percentages will not add to 100. All right?
Do you think what?
So he was 70.
Yeah.
Mr. Sharif is 62 something.
Okay.
And ask me about Mr. Zardari.
Well, that's our People's Party.
Yeah, Mr. Zardari was 16.
And he's the leader current.
14, I think 14.
He's the current leader.
He's the current president of Pakistan.
Mr. Ten
Yeah, he's the guy. So, and why so? It was not like that,
that's a phenomenon,
In 2009, I think Mr. Zardari was 64%. He has come down to 14.
What year?
2009.
That recent?
Yes.
He was 64.
And he has come down to 14.
What's happened to bring that down to 14? What's going
on? Corruption. Mismanagement. Lack of governance. Not poor governance. Absence of governance. Okay? Absence of the writ of the state
incompetence
total incompetence and corruption.
Did I hear corruption? There's always been some corruption, has there not?
But it has never reached the limits at which it is today.
Do you think it's a harbinger, perhaps particularly grievous there in the country of Pakistan, but it's a harbinger of what's being felt by a lot of people? Again, I refer back to the larger movement of Occupy.
In the global context.
Yeah, the global context. That's what I'm saying. They got a thing, Proud. Do you know Proud in India?
Yes, I've heard of that.
That's the tens of millions.
Yeah, of course.
That are on the page, like Mr. Khan was on the page of justice, and he could get nowhere. But suddenly that's becoming a viable issue in a world that is recognizing and having political recognition of the need, not to just say, oh, we'll just go back and, we're not going to have any real change, we never will, we're going to read forever. That it's an issue that has political legs, as they say, even though it seems, idealistic or something can never happen, it'll always be, a few people running everything as always it has been. If you understand what I'm saying, this moment might be a moment in history that's really monumental, being reflected in those numbers perhaps, right?
Yeah, definitely.
And you're involved with that consciousness.
Yes, of course I am.
Good for you.
And let me say, it is like say in the late 30s and the 1940s and 50s. There was this sort of uproar about socialism and communism, and that was also actually a movement which was against the established status quo, where people thought that there was injustice in society, and there were haves and have.
And there was.
Yeah, exactly. They were haves and have-nots, and they wanted to bring them, bridge the gap and make the gap smaller.
And we also had a great depression of the economic
Exactly.
system.
That was, of course, late 20s and early 30s. Yes,
and it was worldwide.
Yeah,
and it was a thing, a crash of.
I wasn't born then, so I don't know.
No, I know. I was hardly born then, but I don't remember. I was born at the tail end of that. But then that was a major thing. But what I'm getting at, I guess, in a certain sense, there's something blowing in the wind. Bobby Dylan was a poet who read the things back in 1970 really clearly, and there's something blowing in the wind now, and we ought to be able to get a sense of that and not just break it down to individual interests, but there's a larger interest and something struggling to be born on the planet.
You're
and
right.
It seems like Mr. Khan would be part of that in the country of Pakistan.
Yes, and Mr. Khan, I really hope.
That's how those figures might be more understandable.
Go
ahead, sorry.
Sure, I mean, those figures are more understandable in the global context when you relate it to the Occupy movement.
And
but those are also, of course, definitely very encouraging. But those figures are also understandable in Pakistani context, because at this time, both parties, the party of Mr. Zardari and the party of Mr. Nawaz Sharif, both parties are in power. Mr. Nawaz Sharif's party is the ruling party in the largest province of Pakistan, in Punjab, yes.
It is, okay.
And Mr. Zardari's party is the ruling party in the remaining provinces, plus the rest of the federal capital.
Well, do you have a confederation or something?
We have we have a federation.
It is federation,
yes.
but is the local that important in terms of actual living?
Very.
Because, it is, okay.
Because there's a lot of autonomy with the provinces.
Okay.
There's a lot of autonomy.
That'd be like what we would call states' rights. Or province rights.
Exactly, states' rights, because there are always, and every constitution gives certain competencies to the federating units, and
your constitution goes back to when? When was the constitution?
1973.
1973. Yeah.
The present constitution was promulgated in 1973 by Mr. Bhutto.
Okay.
But I was saying that this phenomenon. That is now Mr. Imran Khan and Pakistan Tehreek-e Insaf is also now helped by the corruption and bad governance and incompetence of the people who are in power for the last 4.5 years. Okay, because both.
Well, that was supposed to be Benazir Bhutto.
Yes, but she is not there. But she is not there. And in any case, talking of the political parties, these two parties, Mr. Nawaz Sharif's party, which is Pakistan Muslim League, and Mr. Zardari's party, which is Pakistan People's Party, these parties were in power, taking turns even before General Pervez Musharraf took over power in Pakistan. So these two parties have actually been on the scene for a long time.
Yeah, absolutely.
Okay, Mr. Nawaz Sharif's party has actually been ruling either in the province or in the center for 25 years and delivered nothing.
Nothing. Okay, that's interesting. That's very interesting. And while Punjab was being done by the other. Is that correct?
And now, exactly.
And the Sindh was very feudal, I think. Wasn't there Sindh?
Oh, Sindh is as
feudal. It's feudal. It's like feudal.
So is part of Punjab. The southern part of southern Punjab is extremely feudal.
And
Sindh is feudal.
Baluchistan?
Baluchistan is not feudal. It is tribal.
Yeah,
it is tribal because they're tribal, what we call Sardar, which is tribal leaders.
You had a Jamali.
Yes, Jamali was Prime Minister of Pakistan at one time.
Yes. Yeah, right. But he was from what's the town, Quito? Or
he was from Baluchistan.
Yeah, but what's the town in Baluchistan?
Quetta?
Quetta,
yes,
right, okay, like that.
Quetta is an interesting place.
And then you have, when you get up into Afghanistan.
If I might just mention,
by all means.
President Karzai lived in Quetta before he went and became president in Afghanistan.
No.
As a refugee, yes, of course.
I didn't know that. Well, it's a hard war. It's an interesting world. And
because there were millions of refugees, Afghan refugees in Pakistan.
And you mentioned tribal. Then
yes,
so you brought up the term tribal for Baluch and everything, but
also Pashtun.
Then you get, that's what I was going to say. You get over into Afghanistan, and then you get into Pashtun, and then you get into the Northern Alliance. Is that tribal, or how does that all work out? It seems north-south conflict between the Kandahar and so forth, and the Northern Alliance, or was the Northern Alliance, and how does that all fit together in relating to Pakistan realities?
Okay.
Or the tribal identities?
Yeah. Okay, first let's talk of Northern Alliance.
Maybe it's overdone or small.
No, but let's just you know, clarify what is Northern Alliance and what is the Pashtun.
Please.
The Northern Alliance is actually tribes, okay, or let's say not tribes, but ethnic groups.
Okay. Okay. It's
who extend from Central Asian stands republics into Afghanistan.
Right.
They are Tajiks, Uzbeks, and Kazakhs, and Turkmen.
Now there are those countries.
Yeah, and there are those countries: Turkmenistan, Tajikistan, Uzbekistan, Kazakhstan, and not Kazakh, but
we have bases up there, don't we? In a lot of those
but they also have Tajiks. You know, the same people who live in Tajikistan, the same people who live in Uzbekistan, Uzbeks, the same people who live in Turkmenistan, Turkmen.
Yeah.
Okay, then partly people and most of them speak Persian. Tajiks particularly speak exactly the same Persian as the Iranians speak.
Really?
Okay?
Farsi?
Yes, Farsi. The same Farsi that Iranians speak.
No fooling.
The others speak.
Did that go back to Mughal times or something, or what?
No, Mughals were only up to, Mughal rule was only up to Kabul and not beyond that.
Okay,
it's a language. In Tajikistan, the language is Persian, Farsi.
Okay.
And then the others speak also another dialect of Persian, which is called Dari.
Dari, you're right, I've heard that, yeah.
So, and then there are Hazaras who are from Turkic background, and they also speak Persian or Dari in Afghanistan. And then the remaining people are Pashtuns, okay? Now, the Pashtuns, of course, rightly claim that they are more than 50% of the population of Afghanistan.
They're also associated with a warrior mentality, if I'm not mistaken, or good fighters?
Well, people.
Or is that propaganda?
No. They're extremely good fighters. But let me say, you know, people who live in tribal societies and in very harsh countryside, you know, dry, harsh mountains, not much agriculture there. They are always more warlike. They are always because they have to defend whatever little they have very often, and because they are tribal, you know, one tribe attempts to take over their pastures and their whatever they have.
I think that operated in Libya. I think there was
and I was going to say that. So people who live in harsh conditions traditionally and historically, those who live in the inhospitable mountains and in inhospitable deserts are always good fighters. Okay,
that's interesting.
And they're tribal also.
They had to be good fighters to survive in that environment. Yeah,
exactly.
right.
And that's why.
Like
and that's why they're tribal also.
Yeah, right. Okay.
Because you have to depend on a group of people who are your own in order to survive. So that's why tribal.
Geographical understanding of things political. Yeah, right.
Yeah. So that's tribal. But now Pashtuns, I mean, the Uzbeks and Tajiks, etc. They don't live in Pakistan. They live in Afghanistan. Okay, in the northern part of Afghanistan. All right. In between there is a mountain range called the Hindu Kush.
Yes.
And then on this side is the Pashtuns. All right. Pashtuns live partly in Pakistan and partly in Afghanistan.
Right.
The same tribes, you know, half the tribe might live in Afghanistan, another half the tribe might live in Pakistan.
Will they identify themselves as Pashtun or Pakistan or Afghanistan?
No, they identify themselves with the country.
With the country first?
Yes.
Yeah, okay.
But they also do not disown the tribe.
Right.
Okay.
Right.
Yeah.
It's very interesting. Yeah.
And so that's the dynamic.
Yeah.
And it is because of this dynamic, and which dynamic must be understood by people who take decisions sitting, you know, thousands of miles away.
Yeah.
That you cannot expect a watertight border between Pakistan and Afghanistan, because it's the same tribe living on both sides of the border. I mean, you can't have a watertight border between Mexico and the United States with all the resources of the United States. How do you expect a watertight border between Pakistan and Afghanistan? It's outrageous, absolutely, to expect that.
And then you got and now you got these things of the United States coming with their drones and things.
Yes, of course.
But I mean, there have been Hellcats and things like that in the past.
The problem with drones is, Harold, sorry to cut you short on that, but the problem with drones is that for every one extremist or criminal or terrorist being killed, You kill so many civilians, so many, you know, women, children, you know,
you get
old people, people who are innocent civilians.
Yeah, and you're gonna make a lot of enemies.
And you just say, oh, collateral damage. Sorry, this is collateral damage.
Right,
Oh, we take every precaution that there should not be any collateral.
But it's a violation of sovereignty. Also,
it's a violation of human rights.
Yes, right.
It's a violation of sovereignty. It's a violation of human rights. Okay, and I mean, you cannot go and bomb a whole village. Because there is one criminal who lives there. Would you do that in the United States? That go and, you know,
they think they can. There's an arrogance of power. There was an arrogance of power being exerted. And that's something that's going to not make you very many friends. If you want to make them, if you want to have them for friends, as you say. What about also the fact that Pakistan is now a nuclear nation?
Yes, of course. Pakistan is a nuclear nation.
Since what, 98?
Since 98, yes.
They got the bomb.
May 98, yes. May 98
know what you were a military man. Do you know what the size of the arsenal is? Is it a serious?
It's big, okay.
It's
but
big.
How big? You know, obviously I cannot.
Do we know how many there are in Israel?
I don't know.
No,
I don't know.
We don't know that.
No,
but we know it is, right?
Yeah, we know that Israel is a nuclear power. We know India is a nuclear power. We know Pakistan is a nuclear power, and the size of their arsenal, nuclear arsenal, is not known. Well, some people place Pakistan ahead of India. Others say no, India. So I mean, that debate is, I think, sort of unnecessary. The fact of the matter is that Pakistan is a nuclear power.
Do you think if Iraq had had a nuclear capability such as Pakistan has now, they would have been invaded in '91?
No.
They would not have.
Nobody
would
invade.
So the lesson is,
nobody would invade.
If you don't want to be invaded with wild abandon and having your people killed, 500,000 or whatever they did in Iraq and more, 500,000 children and everything like that.
Not just killing people. In Iraq, they destroyed a civilization.
Thank you. But if you don't want that to happen to you, get the bomb.
Well,
no, I mean, is there something? It sounds crude.
Yes,
but it's just realpolitik.
Or at least,
if you don't want to be attacked, get a bomb. Don't say we're not going to get a bomb.
Yeah. I mean, that's one way of putting it. But another way of putting it would be that you know, be strong enough to defend yourself.
Right.
Whether it's bomb or it's you know, conventional forces or whatever, or it's your diplomacy or whatever.
Yeah.
Have a method to
defending your
yourself, defending your sovereignty,
national security,
to ensuring your national security.
Yeah.
And if you are able to do that, nobody's going to attack you.
And if you aren't, then you're going to be conquered.
Absolutely.
It's called real. There's two ways. You're a geopolitician. I guess you have to be a general officer and all that. But I mean, there's a way in which you can say the word. You can say real politics, or you can say realpolitik.
Yeah, I mean, I'm calling it realpolitik.
Yeah, I'm saying it's realpolitik, and that is whoever's got the weapons can conquer and win and set the rules. Yeah. And that's the way it's been throughout all of history, more or less, from Roman times.
Oh, even
and then
pre-Roman.
When you were a king, you
even pre-Roman.
Yeah, and I think the Medicis in Florence were happy for Leonardo da Vinci, not because of the paintings, because he made a siege machine that gave them a military advantage to conquer the tribe in the other village, steal their... And that principle still seems to motivate the international community.
Unfortunately.
Do you understand what I'm saying?
Yes, unfortunately.
Isn't there something new needed on that front when you've got atomic weapons? No, hydrogen, thermal, that do, according to modeling, have the capability to wipe out the entire Homo sapiens species. Do you think...
Not just Homo sapiens species, even the others, other species.
No, but do you realize the words we're saying?
Yeah, I of course. I understand the gravity of...
Is the world adequately cognizant of that fact? We have the ability to stop, what, $3.7 billion process of evolution itself.
Yes, of course.
By wiping out our entire species, which is unique to this moment and unique to our generation. It's never been the possibility before. About 1970, there was something going on where there was a unique capability to extend consciousness and in destructive terms.
Yeah.
And it just seems to be not paid attention to, as though this is like the Civil War in 1860 or something. Do you understand what I'm saying?
I know. I know exactly what you're saying, and
you're a military person.
Yeah,
who
no,
studied,
but exactly that's what people all over the world must be made cognizant of.
And they just seem to think it doesn't matter. They just say one law.
But in some countries, you know, like in Japan, I think people are very cognizant of this kind of a thing. Having been you know, victims of nuclear attack.
But it's a thing that citizens should be aware of, and particularly leaders and intellectuals and leaders should have that foremost in their thinking, that there's a new existential reality.
I was coming to that.
Yeah.
Perhaps it would be impossible to make every citizen everywhere equally conscious of this grave danger to the existence of human species.
Yeah, it's at a level of capability. It's
but
and it can't be tested scientifically.
Thankfully,
you understand what I'm saying?
Yeah.
Okay, it's unique. Yeah.
But what I'm saying is, the focus really has to be that those who actually have to pull the trigger and those who have to take decisions, and they are the ones, which is political leadership all over the world, military leadership all over the world, and intellectual leadership all over the world.
Thank you.
Those people must be conscious and cognizant of this reality. And well, I don't know how cognizant they are, but I mean, I would not be too disappointed on that. I think a lot of them know what it means, and that's why. I mean, even in the United States, there is United Nations. I mean, there is this whole idea of continuously every year debating, you know, about non-proliferation, debating on disarmament. I mean, disarmament mostly means now, you know, nuclear weapons disarmament and not conventional weapons and things like that. So there is a consciousness globally about it, but how good is it? How well people understand this is something that I cannot judge.
Yeah, I know. We had tens of thousands of those at the peak of this of the say 1970. We had thousands of those, and so it was definitely conscious there. Do you think we've had start? We had Reykjavik, we had this, we had cutting back. People think, oh, well, that was characteristic of a certain moment, that they were able to wipe out, I would say, the species, and there's others that could be as well. The weapons are so ungodly powerful, okay, and available. But now it's okay because we won. Let's say the Soviet Union was our adversary, and we won. So now everything's okay because the good guys have it. So everything's okay because the good guys have it. But that it's still there, and that. Do you understand what I'm saying?
Of course.
And
the whole notion.
And the existential reality remains, even though they've cut back. Because there's other research that they're doing in the world, in the realm of germ warfare, and that realpolitik thinking that you got to get the advantage and win, because then you set all the rules, and that has got to be re-examined in light of some new existential reality characteristic of this time that would be maybe on the side, the living or the peaceful side, or justice side, that has not been available to us materialistically throughout an evolutionary pattern that's also been qualitatively transformed, just as the weaponry has. Do you understand what I'm saying?
Yeah.
That the alternation, the ability to provide for everybody and the ecology is now available to us that wasn't, and we should take that into consideration in terms of the intellectual community and the political leadership, no?
Sure. What you say is absolutely right, of course, and like you say, it has to be taken into the consciousness of the elites and the political leadership, etc. Because ultimately, it is these people who would decide to let the human species continue to exist or not.
Maybe
and
not.
Unfortunately,
go ahead.
And unfortunately, the problem is that if you know, because there would be a tit-for-tat attack. So if somebody, even by mistake, by whatever reason, initiated this, there would be a catastrophe. We all understand that. But then at the same time, the whole notion actually of good guys and bad guys is ridiculous.
It is. We're all one,
We are all one.
Yeah, that's true.
And your good guys may not be my good guys, and my good guys may be your bad guys. Okay, so good guys and bad guys is a relative thing. Okay, So every time, if there is power and authority with the United States, or not with the Soviet Union, but with the Russian Federation now, so it's good guys. I mean, this is a ridiculous way of looking at it.
But it is historic, and it's hard for people to change from historical.
Of course,
and we have all the institutions we reify. And we relate in terms of the historical, it's a human characteristic. Mr. Imran, or Mr. Khan, may be recognizing that this other side of the equation, there's a destructive side, and then there's a capability, a positive side, that could be realized maybe through new capital formation techniques, ways of distributing demand and so forth, in keeping with technological input, a new economic understanding of a capability to provide for everyone that has not been characteristic. Do you understand? That equally existentially significant on the living side, or the peaceful side, that is also ignored because they just prepare to war as a default in terms of a consciousness. Huh?
Yeah, sure.
And he may be representing that, taking advantage of the fact that you call it justice or call it an appropriate thing. That may be something that could be picked up by other people relevant to other parts of the world. So a major figure may be emerging, and it would be good to be in support of him like you are, and I congratulate you if that is the case.
Thank you very much on that, and of course that's why I'm with him, because I'm in support of him. And,
you see
I would say that a major figure on global political scene is emerging in the form of Mr. Imran Khan.
Okay. Do you see others?
And definitely. Sorry.
Do you see others? Do you see others? Other parts? He's a major one. He's worth. I thank you for bringing it to attention. Saj had him on this program the other day. But do you see others in the world order that he could be calling to his? He could be linking up with, that are of that mindset and so forth? Or is it just this lone figure who's got it together in that one country? Or is it more characteristic of a leader's otherwise that you can identify, or that he identifies with?
Yeah, let me say that if I were to sort of look around, perhaps I won't be able to put my finger on one right away.
Yeah.
But there must be. But that doesn't mean that there aren't other people or aren't other leaders. I mean, there may be leaders in places which are not very prominent or very well known to me.
Yeah. It's blowing in the wind. Like
Exactly. And then when you say such leaders don't necessarily always have to be political.
Yeah,
they could be intellectual leaders. They could be in the academia somewhere.
Absolutely.
Okay.
Yeah.
They could, and therefore
it could be called Occupy the World. It's an larger thing. Problem is, we got a tyranny of time, even here in these civilian quarters. Right. We're limited by time. Your pleasure to have the perceptions then of a great gentleman. You can see we're glad we could fit in. Major General retired in East Day, Bajwa, and he's supporting Mr. Imran Khan, a person who's going to emerge ever more prominently in the world scene. Thank you for bringing that attention to us, and we'll have to see if we can look about for more of these kind of people that might be the hope of the world, as opposed to it would be a shame to wipe it all out now that we've reached this point of consciousness where we can take the measure of the Big Bang 13.7 billion years ago. It would be a shame to wipe it out because we're all caught up with outdated institutions. We need change and justice, and may he prosper, and wish him all the best in our behalf, and all the best to you too, and thanks a lot for reporting in. You're going to get back to New York from time to time, or?
Yes, I'm here for a month now, and perhaps maybe I'll be back in New York sometimes next summer.
Anything on a semi-permanent basis or anything? Could we try to set up? Could we try to enlist you or your colleagues, or put us in touch with people who might want to become producers of programming over here at MNN, because we're going to be streaming programs on these kind of issues? We should be in touch.
Sure,
people that you know in the area, UN or whatever, that are really good. So give us leads and that kind of stuff, or maybe set up a program.
Are we still on air, or
I'm not sure, but it'll be on YouTube. It'll be on YouTube.
All right. Okay.
Okay.
Yeah. As far as putting you in touch with other people, definitely that's a possibility, and I would be happy to do that. But of course, I also want to thank you once again for this session with me, and I enjoyed having this conversation with you, and surely I would look forward to maybe one next year or whenever I'm here again, perhaps recalling what we've discussed today, or something more next time.
Put me in touch. There is email. We can do, and the program that we've done is going to be able to be seen in Pakistan now. You realize?
Yeah, sure.
Okay?
Yeah,
it is a world.
You'll stream it, yes. Yeah. But what I was going to say was, but definitely once, and I hope so, and hope and pray to God that that will come true. Mr. Imran Khan is the Prime Minister of Pakistan. It'll be my pleasure to come and talk to you again and tell you whether he's delivering or not.
Set it up. I'd like to meet the man.
Yeah,
America would like to meet the man.
Oh yes, of course, but you'll have to come to Pakistan perhaps.
Well, if it had to be, it had to be. He couldn't come here.
Oh, I mean, he wouldn't specially come here for this, but...
Not even for conversations with Channer?
No, but
no, I'm making a joke. I'm making a joke, brother.
No, what I'm saying is... But if he's here, perhaps we could set up a...
Well, let's do, but others too. But you're onto something really good. I'm onto something good. Let's be in touch, okay?
Okay.
Thank you for viewing. We'll be coming back, and there's the contact information for the general. Thanks a lot, Anis. Okay.